Good morning, everyone. As you all know, my name is Rajat Rawat. I study in California and I've lived there my whole life. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about the school life of a U.S.A. student. So you guys can then compare what the U.S. system is like to your own life in India. And I want to thank you all again for having me here. Okay, time for some background information. Both of my parents, my mom and my dad, they both studied in India all the way until high school. My dad continued to study in college in India in IIT Kanpur for computer science, and my mom studied a bit of computer science in India, but then she finished her master's degree back in California in Hayward, California. And every year we come to visit family in India. Currently, we are again visiting family in India. So now I'm going to give a brief overview about the U.S. education system. In the U.S.A., students can either attend public schools, which are free or almost free and funded by the government, or they can attend private schools, which parents have to fund and pay for their students to go to. So in the U.S.A. education system, students will first attend elementary school. In elementary school, students will basically learn some basic skills and get some knowledge in the core subjects, which will continue on in middle school and high school. Then comes middle school. In middle school, students will transition between elementary and high school and get a better understanding of the core subjects and eventually get prepared for high school. Middle school just acts as a transition between elementary school and high school. Finally, in high school, students will determine what career they want to go in by doing subjects which they like. Then, the students will attend college and get their college results after high school. And from elementary to high school, students engage in a few core subjects. These core subjects include math, science, English, and physical education. And there sometimes might be some more core subjects depending on the school. Also social studies. Generally, U.S. schools will start around 8 a.m. and end at 3 p.m. However, this timing will vary from school to school, since generally it's up to the school on how long the school should be. And most U.S. schools do not require uniforms. However, some private schools may require uniforms. But public schools definitely do not require uniforms for students. Continuing on the U.S. education system. One advantage is that students can generally choose which classes they want to choose. For example, since many colleges require high school students to take a foreign language, U.S. students get an opportunity to choose which foreign language they want to do. These foreign languages include Spanish, Latin, French, and Chinese. Also, aside from the core subjects, students get an opportunity to choose electives, which are extra classes, which are sometimes mandatory for students. These electives include computer science, English writing, painting, musical theater, and so on. Also, if a student isn't feeling challenged, generally a student can move up in a higher class or a higher subject. For example, if a student is feeling that math is easy, they can ask their teacher to move up to a higher math if they have good grades, and they might even have to take an exam to see if they're ready for it. Also, collaboration and teamwork is heavily emphasized in the U.S.A. U.S. wants students to have good teamwork, since teamwork will usually make stuff better than working individually. For example, teachers generally assign group projects quite often, so students can learn working with someone else and interacting with someone else. And teachers are almost always available to the student. Whenever a student has a doubt or a question, a student can either directly ask a teacher online or schedule a meeting with the teacher through office hours. teacher is almost always willing to help a student in the USA. Now I'm going to talk about the U.S. college admission criteria. In general, most U.S. colleges will be looking for well-rounded candidates, meaning the students will have good in all of the aspects which I'm about to mention. Colleges want students to take challenging classes in high school, but they also want those students to do well, meaning getting top marks in those classes. Since in the US you can choose which classes you take, it looks good to colleges if you take advanced classes and you do well in them, especially if you're interested in them. One way you can take advanced classes is there are these AP classes in the USA, which almost every high school will offer. These AP classes are essentially just one semester college classes combined into 2 semesters for a high school. When students take these AP classes, eventually they'll have to take an exam at the end of the year, which every student in the USA takes, the exact same exam. And they'll get a score on it, and the colleges can see that score. The colleges in the USA use this to see if students will be able to cope up with the college work, or if the college work will be too hard for them. Another way colleges see if a student is ready to join their college is they use standardized exam scores, such as the SAT and ACT. Both of these exams test on reading and writing, and both are pretty similar, but generally students can choose which one they want to take. If you take one, there's no need to take the other, since colleges know that you'll do well in that exam, and you'll do well in college. While grades and test scores are really important, they're not everything, because having good grades and high test scores is relatively common in the USA. Due to this, many colleges want students to have good extracurriculars and good letters of recommendation from their teachers. So every student in the USA will have to ask 1 or 2 teachers to write them a letter of recommendation. In that letter of recommendation, a teacher writes about how a student is in the classroom and how a student is as a person. Generally, colleges want to see how a student is as a person and see if the student will be a good fit. And generally, most colleges want students who will change the world, who are not only smart, but will have an impact on others. So, there's also a college counselor. Every high school will have a college counselor, someone the school hires to advise each high school student on what to do to better get prepared for college. This college counselor will also write a letter to the colleges on how good a student is and what he thinks of the student. Colleges also want to see good extracurricular activities. In extracurricular activities, colleges want to see passion in whatever you do, and they also want to see commitment, time commitment, and they finally want to see leadership and having an impact on whatever you do. Colleges also want to see passion for your major. For example, if you like math, for example, colleges want to see that you took all the hard math classes. For example, AP Calculus and AP Statistics, and they want to see you do well in those. And also, they want you to do some extracurriculars relating to your passion. Finally, colleges also want you to be interested in joining that college. A college doesn't want to admit you just to have you go to a different college, if you can apply to many colleges. They want you to join. So the more interested you show the college you are in joining that college through your essays, is more likely that you will get in. Now I'm going to talk more about some extracurricular activities. There are many extracurricular activities students can do, and they range from basically anything. For example, students can do sports. Students can play sports in the school level, district level, state level, and national level. And doing a sport will show the college that you are passionate and that you are hardworking. For example, some students might join a sports team, such as a basketball team or a volleyball team. In these teams, students will have meetings weekly to prepare, and then eventually will compete. And it looks good to colleges, especially if you can be excellent in whichever sport you do, meaning play at the state or national level, and possibly even win. This shows colleges that you can succeed in something if you work hard. And then that means you'll generally be successful in life, according to the colleges, if you succeed in something. Also, there are math, science, and computer science competitions, which students can take. There are competitions for basically any subject. For example, computer science, there's musical, math, there's AMC, AME, and Olympiads. For physics, there's F equals MA exam. In these exams, doing well shows colleges that you're great at that subject, and many of these exams require creative thinking, meaning you have to think outside of the box to solve many of these hard problems. And doing these problems will show colleges that you are also hardworking, since doing well in these competitions is not easy. Colleges also like to see activities when you help the community. Like, they don't want you to just be grateful for what you have, they also want you to help other people and have an impact on especially underprivileged kids, making their lives better. Because they want you to also have a good impact on their college. They want you to benefit their college and help other people in their college do better. So, yeah, they want you to have a positive impact. And as I said earlier, there are many ways there are many extracurriculars you can get involved in. There are many creative extracurriculars you can do, such as creating a YouTube channel for a subject you're interested in. You can upload videos on, like, let's say math again. You can upload videos teaching math online, and it'll look especially good to U.S. colleges if you're able to get monetized, 1,000 subscribers, and make a little bit of money from it. All of these activities will show colleges who you are as a person. And eventually, extracurriculars will differentiate you from just having good grades and test scores. Since many people have good grades and test scores, these extracurriculars show who you are as a person. Another solid extracurricular which students get involved in are internships. High school students mainly get part-time jobs or internships in the summer. These internships can include working with a local professor on a research project, or can even mean working at a company. In the US, there are some summer programs which you apply to, and if you get in, you can work at an internship somewhere. And sometimes you can just directly ask the professor if they want to research with you on a project for a while. And part-time jobs also help you make money, and sometimes they'll be paid internships. Part-time jobs also show that you are hardworking aside the classroom, since colleges can see that you can know what it's like to be in the workforce. Many kids do part-time jobs and internships in the summer, but sometimes kids will do it in the school year. In the school year, however, it is more challenging to do part-time jobs and internships. As in the school year, students have to work on school. They need to get top marks in that. So if you do internships and part-time jobs in the school year, it also shows colleges that you can manage your time well. But it will be challenging. And finally, many students decide to get part-time jobs and internships in college. And in college, with those part-time jobs and internships, students will be able to help pay for their college tuition. There are many skills that the U.S. education system wants to develop in the students. Some of these skills include an emphasis on the growth mindset of a student. A growth mindset is essentially meaning that a student will not be happy with their mistakes or not be super sad with their mistakes. They'll try to learn from their mistakes. Since mistakes are essentially going to happen eventually. For example, a math teacher in the U.S.A. might have a really hard test and then force their students to make corrections, meaning every student has to correct their work so they understand where they went wrong. This is an example of showing the student that learning from your mistakes can be good as well. There's also an emphasis on building computer skills. Since the world is getting more and more reliant on technology, students tend to do a lot of their work online. For example, teachers might assign a lot of homework online, and then have students submit homework online. And students also tend to chat with other students online to work on homework or study for exams. This will help students get ready for the future when there's more technology. As I said earlier, there's also an emphasis on collaboration and group projects. Many teachers assign group projects in which students get a grade as a group, not an individual grade. This shows the student how to work with other people instead of just doing something by themselves. And it requires good people skills to talk to someone else to do a project. There's also an emphasis on using the process to solve a problem. For example, in math class, let's say a student gets the right answer, but no work is involved. The student doesn't show how he got the right answer. The teacher might think that the student just maybe guessed the right answer or copied off someone else, and they might not get full points. However, in the USA, if you show your work, the process of getting the right answer, and you still get the wrong answer because of a small mistake at the end, teachers will still give the student some points for it, because they know that the student almost got the right answer. Also, there's an emphasis on class participation and other aspects of a grade instead of just exams. For example, a class might have a grade thing of 20% is class participation, 10% is homework, 35% is projects, and 35% is exams. And all of those add up to 100%. Meaning that exams aren't the only thing that's important in studying in the USA. While they are important, some other things such as class participation, doing well in class, and asking questions when necessary, completing your homework on time and doing your homework diligently, and doing projects well and effectively also add up to make your grade better. Now I'm going to talk about some cultural differences between the USA and India. In India, generally I see students address their teacher by either sir or madam, but in the USA, students will address the teacher by Mr., Miss, or Mrs. followed by their name. For example, Mr. Betcher, for example, or Mrs. C. And MS, Miss, that just means that a female teacher is not married, and MRS, Mrs., means that the female teacher is married. Another cool thing about my school is that since USA is really diverse, there are people of many different cultures. Many holidays are celebrated. For example, Diwali is celebrated, Halloween is celebrated, Chinese New Year is celebrated, and Thanksgiving is celebrated. All of these holidays being celebrated shows the diverse nature of the USA. Also, one thing I've noticed, generally in India, most schools will require uniforms for students. But as I mentioned earlier, in the USA, it really depends on the school. And public schools won't have uniforms generally, and private schools may or may not have uniforms. That's it. Any questions? And thank you guys for listening.
Right? Now, the thing is, like when he's preparing for his tournament, he doesn't prepare 2 weeks before the tournament, right? He works hard almost like every week throughout the year, right? So that's the thought I want to leave you guys with. That is, if you want to do well in life, you need to work really hard, right? There is no substitute for that. There is no like alternative, right? And then you need to work hard week after week, right? It's not about like working hard, 1 week before the examination, right? So that's one thought, right? The second thought, like on a similar lines, is that we have this concept in India, especially when I was growing up, right? Like we had this judgment by parents. They say this kid is a smart kid, right? ये बहुत जल्दी समझ जाता है, बहुत अच्छा करता है, right? And this kid is slow, right? Now the reality is there is like nothing called smart and slow, right? Like everyone is the same. The difference is the hard work, right? And what happens in schools is that the concepts like built on top of each other, right? So what happens is, let's say, like in your lower grade, you learn about addition, multiplication, like subtraction, right? That's basic stuff. And then, like when you go to higher grade, like you learn about maybe, let's call, like factorization, right? And if you did well, if you work hard in the lower grade, right, what's going to happen is the factorization will become very easy because you're very good with multiplication and division and so on, right? Now what happens is, some kids work hard during lower grades, some kids don't, right? So when they come to factorization, the kids who work harder in lower grade, right, they learn the concept much faster and they're much faster, right? But in the kids who were like, a little bit lazy in the lower grade, right, they won't be that good. And then what happens is the parents like, keep sort of like labeling students that, he's smart, he's smart, nahi hai, and that demotivates it, right? So what you need to do is, if something is hard for you, which means you need to work harder, right? The reason you need to work harder is because we're lazy in like lower grades, right? The other kid like worked harder. Right? Just as an example, right? Like I was pretty good in studies, right? I was top in my school, and like I did pretty good in like IT exams, right? I got college rank of 117. I went into top college, right? And everyone thought he's super smart, right? And then when I went to the college, right, I was in the bottom 25% in my class, right? Because everyone else was smarter than me. And the reason they were smarter than me was because during the summers when I was like wasting my time, right, they were like preparing for like math olympiad, like representing the country in different like international tournaments and stuff like that, right? So which means the same like labeling, right? In school, I was considered like, pretty awesome, right? I was doing very good. Whereas in college, I was pretty bad, right? And the only like differentiating factor was the amount of hard work that I put in, right? So these are the two thoughts like I want to leave you guys with, right? That is, there is no substitute in this life for hard work, right? And hard work doesn't mean that working hard like 1 week or 2 weeks before the exam, right? The hard work means that week after week, every week, right? How many hours do you spend? And by spending hours, it's more of like focus time, right? Not of, what, I'm sitting in front of my books and I'm spending my time on Instagram or, YouTube videos and like playing like video games and stuff like that, right? Yeah, probably that's, the thought like on leave all of you with. Thank you.
If an Indian student wants to learn USA accent, so what's the main thing you should focus on? Your
I would suggest that you do bachelor's from here and then you prep for GRE and maybe TOEFL. TOEFL is an English exam which checks your knowledge in English. And based on what you score there, you apply to different colleges and based on the score, they will pick you up. So, and then also you write something about yourself a little bit as the person who you are. This is as simple as that for master's program. Bachelor's is very expensive. That's why I'm saying that it's better to go for master's, because I've seen a lot of people, like in my company, I work at Dell. Every year I see a lot of people coming in who have done masters and they're joining our company. So that would be my suggestion. And of course, what you focus on if you want to be an engineer is, again, you focus on physics, maths, all these subjects, right? If you want to be a doctor, that might be a completely different kind. Not very much aware of being a doctor, how it works, but as I know it, if you do medicine from here and when you go there, you still have to do some amount of, you have to spend some amount of time in studies, because they don't generally accept this medicine, I think, as a degree. So that's all. Did I answer your question?
I'm from class 9. Like I have done BTech from India and I went to work in USA. So is my degree valid in USA?
Yeah, like I think, pretty much the Indian brand is like pretty popular in US, right? Like, especially because of IITs. So pretty much every degree is like valid. And the second is the world is also changing. Nowadays there is less emphasis on degree and like more emphasis on what you know, right? So again, like, if I can give an advice, that advice would be focus on like mastering the content, right? Degree is more like, as you have it, that's good. But then the important criteria is, do you understand the concept at a deeper level or not?